Well, hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Kathy Cook of Celebrate Kids with the second part of my teaching about the multiple intelligences, a model that Dr. Gardner developed at Harvard University that I've enjoyed speaking about and writing about in my book, 8th Grade Smarts, and adding the Christian understanding to it and all of that. It's really been a joy to be here with you, and I pray that this is super helpful. As I shared with you in the last video, the intelligences can be awakened and paralyzed. They can be strengthened, reawakened. We believe that kids are born with the capacity to develop all 8. They never work alone. They always work together. You can have natural strengths. You can have a natural challenge. Many kids will have many that are average. They'll have, the older they get, the more that their strengths will be discovered by you and by them and by their family. Younger kids, it's harder to identify for sure what the strengths are because they're more in the awakening, peak and valley kind of stage of life. So I hope you're enjoying this. And I'm going to just review quickly. The word smart kids think with words. When they're excited, they probably talk. They don't need an audience. Logic smart kids think with questions. When they're excited, they ask more questions. They probably gravitate toward math and science. And then the picture smart kids think with their eyes in pictures. They do that on paper. They do that up here in their mind. And when picture smart kids are excited, they usually add to their pictures. They maybe add another ball player in the outfield, another color to the rainbow, another seashell on the seashore, if you will. So those are the first 3 that I discussed. Word and logic are school smarts. Kids who have those 2 believe that they're the smart ones and maybe others aren't. But all of us know people who have been really successful at life, even if school was hard, which is evidence, again, that all 8 of these matter. And I think the best schools encourage children to develop all 8 according to the way God's created them, because we've got to be in the business of honoring God's creative intention with these kids. And this is where this identity shift with these intelligences really comes into play. As I said to you in the opening video, we can teach to the way that they're smart. Some of us have a tendency to teach according to how we are smart. I want us to teach to all 8. You can think about reviewing. If you teach a math lesson that's very logic smart on Monday, and maybe on Tuesday you speak a lot about it and they define some words, that would be word smart. Maybe you have some kids on Wednesday and you've discovered they've not done so well. Maybe they draw the lesson. Maybe they draw 2 6s that are sweaty, that are really hot, and 6 times 6 is thirsty 6 because they're very thirsty because they got really hot in the desert. That's an example of taking words. There are 2 6s crossing the hot desert, and the picture smart, sweaty, hot 6s with the logic problem of 6 times 6 is thirsty 6. How many of you might remember that in a couple of weeks that I used that example? Because you either see the sweaty 6s or you're word smart and you remember my story. You can take these intelligences and you can embed them together, and you can also teach over time. On Monday, use this. On Tuesday, use this. Next week, use this smart. And that really will empower you and your kids to enjoy school so much more, and also to do so much better than if we just stay the course of whatever curriculum might suggest is a very word and logic smart existence. Well, let's go on to the 4th intelligence, which is music smart. It's another creative intelligence, if you will. Music smart kids think with rhythms and melodies, and they tend to make noise if they're excited. So they're the ones who click their ink pen, they bebop, their toes are shaking, their head is bebopping. If they're in a chair, they roll it back and roll it forward, roll it back and roll it forward. Maybe they're body smart and they think with movement. Maybe they're music smart and it's the rhythm and it's the noise that they tend to enjoy. Let me say that something I don't think I've said, and that is that intelligences always begin with interest. And if the interest is reacted to positively, then ability can come from that. This is why a lot of people don't know that they could have been music smart. They were never given a chance to find that out. So I'm a huge fan of elementary choir and a year of piano lessons to find out. That certainly is my story. I actually went to the university. I went to march in the marching band. I come from a very music smart family, and music is still one of my top intelligences, probably the 4th or the 5th smart. I don't play any instruments anymore, but music is still something I go to in a time of need. If I want joy or peace, if there's something going on in my world, music is often a way that God will communicate with me, because why? He knows me. He knows me better than I know myself. So he's going to use the way that he created me to be, right? Makes sense? So that's a quick look at number 4, music smart, rhythms and melodies, making music when we're excited, remembering that it's interest and ability, remembering that we need to be quiet because we live, work, learn, and love in community. So if you have a kid who's clicking the ink pen or drumming the fingers on the table because they really wish they were a drummer, Well, they need to stop that if it's inhibiting another kid from learning or making it hard for you to teach. Because as I say to kids, you're not allowed to do anything that makes it hard for the teacher to teach or hard for another kid to learn, because we live, learn, work, love, live in community. Find a way to be who you were created to be that doesn't dishonor the people around you. This is what we talk about so that we don't paralyze out of a kid a strength they have. We don't dismiss them as being bad children because they make noise. We say to them, you are demonstrating how music smart you are right now, but right now is not the time to demonstrate it. And we teach them self-control, self-respect, respect for others so that they're less of a problem in the community called school. Make sense? Very important. These are the kids too who say, Dr. Kathy, I never knew that I was smart. I just thought I was talented. I thought I was musical. I thought I liked music. Thanks for letting me know that my brother isn't the only one that's smart. I'm smart too. Well, body smart is number 5. Body smart kids think with rhythms. Music smart kids think with rhythms and melodies. Body smart kids think with movement and touch. How many of you know these kids? They move, shake, rattle, and roll. They stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. They pick up their pen, they put it down. They touch their hair, they touch your hair. Perhaps they're very much into physical touch. Obviously, they again need self-control, self-respect, and respect for others so that this ability to move and touch doesn't make them a problem. You guys, this is their strength. This is God making them this way. They may be ADD, ADHD, or they may not be either of those. These are the kids who line up after an assembly or a chapel at a school like yours, and they say, Dr. Kathy Lady, thanks for letting me know that I'm good, even though I move all the time. It's only ever gotten me into, fill in the blank, trouble. These are the kids who are going to share the gospel as they're walking the pavement. These are going to be the truck drivers and the actors and the actors. By the way, these are the drummers. If you're a music smart person, you might play the flute, but if you're music smart, body smart, you might prefer drums or a keyboard where you get to really pound on it, or the trombone where you can feel how far out to slide the slide. Again, the intelligences always work together. They never work alone. Body smart kids move, shake, rattle, and roll. My surgeon, every time I've had surgery, is body smart because I want him to cut where he's supposed to and put the body back together right. Help your students know that it's not bad if they move and they touch. They might be dancers and actors and physical therapists and plumbers and orchestra conductors. My trainer at the gym, oh my goodness, is so body smart. It's a wonderful thing to be. Remember, all of the careers you can point to the different smarts within the different careers, and that's a way to help kids discover, why did God make me this way? Why did God make me this way? Yeah. So body smart. What do you think? Do you think your kids think that's a good thing? Or do you think that we in our schools have made it out as a bad thing? Sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, put that down, look at me. Do they need to sit down and put that down and look at us? Oh yeah, it helps. But we need to find ways to help them be obedient within their identity so they don't get mad at God and blame Him for not making them smart like they're fill in the blank. Because if they don't think they're smart, they will not. I can almost guarantee it. If they don't think they're smart, they will not become who they could have been. And this is your opportunity. Now, sure, enroll them in soccer. They're the ones who can kick the soccer ball through the goal with both left and right feet, praise God. They're the ones that have great handwriting at the chalkboard or the whiteboard when you need something done. Absolutely. They're the ones who need to pass out the papers for you because they need to get up and move around. Find a way for them to be so they can be successful. Amen? I hope that's a helpful way to look at it. Hey, number 6, really fun. Number 6 is nature smart. Number 6 is actually the last intelligence that Dr. Gardner identified. I'm going to do it as number 6, not 8, for reasons that'll be made clear in a minute. But nature smart people think with patterns. That's how they know it's a bluebird, not a blue jay, an elm tree, not an oak tree. Because if you're nature smart, you have an ability to remember what you see in a pattern. So it's related to picture smart in that your eyes are really significant, but it's patterning. It shows up for me in architecture. My dad was an engineer. So I grew up playing with protractors and graph paper and T-squares and all of that. And when I travel the world, I enjoy the architecture and I enjoy the shadows and the lights that are on the buildings or on the pavement as I'm walking about. If I go to an arboretum, if I go to a zoo, I go with somebody who's more nature smart than me, so I enjoy it more. And I, guess what, pay attention to the patterns. Patterned kids are kids who are nature smart. By the way, they also like to get dirty. Do you know any kids like that? If I do my program at your school and I say, how many of you like to get dirty? About 80% of the children will raise their hand. And it's so much fun for me to then say to them, it's because God made you a particular way where you're nature smart. These are the kids, remember, these are the adults who may come to faith in Christ as you teach them about the uniqueness of the giraffe, the uniqueness of the hippo. As you show them Psalm 23 and walking through the valley and how the mountaintop is up ahead. Genesis and so many other places in the scripture, Jonah, so many places where you could use nature and the out of doors, if you will. The planting of the seed on fertile soil and rocky ground. The idea that the roots firmly planted, right? The stream where the water flows. If you yourself have gravitated toward those kinds of passages, or you find yourself talking to the unsaved person about a relationship with Christ in terms of roots that planted deep that could find the still water, it might be because God created you nature smart and you knew that, and I'm affirming it for you. And what a privileged person I am to do that. By the way, as I've told you, the intelligences never work alone. So here's an example. Which sciences do nature smart kids like? Biology, because it's logic plus nature. Meteorology, earth science, because it's nature, patterning, plants, animals, rocks, minerals, and dirt, plus the logic of exploration. When I have a kid say to me, Dr. Kathy, I don't do science, or Dr. Kathy, I'm not good at science, I almost always say that we haven't found the science yet you will be good at. Because I've seen it happen over and over again, that it's how we combine the lessons. Those of you who teach younger children, if you're teaching in our elementary schools, how many of you have seen it happen? You know, for 3 weeks they love science, and then for 3 weeks they don't? And the parents call you like, what have you done to my kid that he's earning a bad grade in science? Well, you didn't do anything to that kid. What happened was the curriculum moved from fruit flies or spiders and insects to magnets and pulleys that they don't care about because that's logic smart and it doesn't interest them. So I pray that that's something for you to think about. You know, those of you it doesn't matter what grade you're working in, if your kids have a chance to choose, maybe here's an example, they get to choose a person to study. Let's use this. Maybe you're teaching history. You teach children history, and they get to choose a person to study and do a report because you want them to learn how to write long reports. Well, if they're a logic smart, word smart, let them choose a politician and have them analyze their speech and debate style and even their campaign slogan. And if you know that there's a kid in that same class who's more nature smart and picture smart, let them choose an explorer. And how did that explorer discover the Mississippi River, the North Star, or that plant was poisonous, or that plant could be a new medicine? Yeah, you guys, you can do this. You can take the way they're smart and integrate it into your curriculum and your goals. And it's a win-win because now you're motivated, they're motivated, and everybody wins. Absolutely, I believe that's true. The last two intelligence is really interesting to me. By the way, nature smart kids, when they get excited, want to go outside. I don't think I told you that. Nature smart kids, when they get excited, want to go outside. They love fresh air. Let me share with you the last two intelligences as we wrap this up. And again, thanks for listening. I know that you can teach even more effectively than you have been to all 8 smarts. The 7th intelligence is people smart. People smart children are good at reading body language, so they can usually respond well to the mood that's indicated on your face. How many of you have had kids walk toward you to ask you a favor and you see them walk away? And you say, can I help you? And they're like, no. And you say, now is good. And they're like, no. Because they wanted you to say yes, and they saw no written all over your face. These are good kids to have in class. They're the ones who can tell that their neighbor is anxious or concerned. They're the ones who may come to you and say, you know, Katie's upset about something. You might want to go help her. People smart people get a read on people, and it's a beautiful thing. Or it can be horrendous because they can feel everybody's pain. People smart people talk to people when they're excited. They think with people. They think with other people's ideas. Most of us who are people smart, we don't know what we know until we hear ourselves say it to someone else and they respond. So people smart people think with people. We brainstorm, we network, we collaborate, we love group work. We're the kid who raises our hand, may I do this with a partner, please? Maybe we're not confident, but maybe we're people smart and we know that our best ideas come in that time of discussion. People smart people who are excited talk to people. So if, like me, you have a student who is word smart and they talk, and people smart, they talk to people, yeah, they're talking all the time. And this might be you or somebody who you're living with, married to, or one of your own kids. Let me tell you that I think this might be the most important intelligence, because it's dying, because we're allowing our children to look at their devices and to look down and not make eye contact and not learn to read faces. It's a dangerous thing. We're also isolating. We're falling into our screens. We're Googling things rather than talking to family and friends. So in my humble opinion, if I were to prioritize the awakening and the strengthening and the prioritizing of these in a student body, I would choose this one. Because how many of you want your students to be able to look at someone and know if they're safe or not, on their side or not, for them or against them, someone to approach or someone to stay away from? They need to learn that. And they learn that when they understand how to read the body, and they're not going to learn that if we're allowing them to constantly look down at whatever device we're allowing them to hold. And then they need to learn to collaborate and to agree to disagree and to discover other people's ideas are just as good, if not better, than their own. And the accountability that can come from those relationships that build. So I want to encourage you, as maybe as a school value, to look at the strengthening and awakening of being people smart. Quickly, let me also tell you that people smart people get their joy from telling what they know. So these are the kids who are often at your desk. Hey, teacher, could I show you this? Look at my answer to number 3. Are you finished? No, but I wanted you to see number 3. They get a lot of joy from telling what they know. Now, the opposite of the people smart kid is the self-smart kid. And remember, all of us have all 8. So people smart people get their joy from telling what they know. They think really well with other people. The opposite of that is self-smart. And self-smart children think deeply inside of themselves with reflection. Self-smart adults and self-smart students think deeply inside of themselves with reflection. They don't need other people's ideas. They need to go deeper with their own. And what do when they're excited? They go off by themselves somewhere and think even more deeply. They crave quiet, peace, privacy, and space. They crave and they need, they don't just want, they need privacy, peace, quiet, and space. 4 things we don't give them much of, many times at school, many times, of course, at home as well. These kids need more time to answer your questions, even the easiest question. What color paper would you like to use for your project? It's a simple question, right? And they go over to the cupboard and they're like, well, yellow, I'm not happy enough for yellow. I can't choose yellow. I chose blue yesterday. I don't want to do it 2 days in a row. That girl over there chose green. I don't like her. I can't choose green. I'm not choosing red. That's an orange. It's a pumpkin color. I can't. White doesn't even have color. I don't think white's a color. I don't think I'll choose white. What color should I choose? I wish it was lavender. She doesn't have lavender. She has purple. I guess I could choose purple. And the whole time they're trying to decide, you're like screaming inside, choose a piece of paper. But for a lot of us who are self-smart, even the simplest question is a challenge. So please understand that, because you know what these kids tell me? They feel stupid quickly sometimes. What restaurant do you want to go to? What do you want to write your paper on? Where are you going to put that when you're finished? And they don't know because they haven't thought about it yet. Let them have time and space to think. That's what they need. They get their joy from knowing what they know. People smart people get their joy from telling what they know. Self-smart people get their joy from knowing what they know. They just love to know. They don't tell anyone. They underperform in school. Watch for this year, okay? I think there's a lot of self-smart kids who know what they know, what they know, what they know. But their joy is knowing it. They don't think they need to tell you. These are the kids who say to me, well, Dr. Kathy, I didn't write it down. She should know I know it. She's my teacher. And I'm screaming inside, play the game called school. Write it down. So self-smart kids, they think deeply inside of themselves. By the way, autism may be self-smart amplified with a lack of people smart. OCD type behaviors can be logic smart extraordinaire. ADHD kinds of things can look like a body smart thing. So be aware of that as you're looking to diagnose and to help kids, that maybe what you're looking at are not deficits but strengths, and what a perspective to share with a mom and a dad. I'm going to close my time in this way. All of us have all 8. If you are struggling this year with things like obedience and class control, amplify your people smart intelligence, because that's what allows you to see in advance that someone is about to get into trouble, because you're very good at reading the body language and the facial feedback. If you're exhausted at the end of the day, it might be because you're self-smart and you're craving quiet peace, privacy, and space. and your head is just pounding from all of the interactions with all of the kids and all of the pages and all of the papers. So be aware that self-care is actually an element of this, and you can choose to rhythm your life really well. If you or your students have both of those last two in your top four, it's why you feel schizophrenic, moody, and in need of help all the time. If God chose to give you a lot of people smarts so you could brainstorm, network, create ideas with other people, and he also chose to give you a need to go deep, then it can be hard relationally because you want to go deep, you want to be with them. You want to go deep, you want to be with them. You want to go deep, you want to be with them. And it's confusing. And your own colleagues are like, who are you today? The one that wants to be alone or the one who wants to go deep? And it can be so weird, but it's so good because you're the ones who can change the world with the deep thought you have that you're confidently able to share with others. I never share that combination uniquely with younger children because I don't want to introduce to them this idea that it can be confusing, although I would share it with an individual child who I felt was ready to hear it. But when I share that with the upper level students, maybe the grades 6 and 7 and older, that this combination is powerfully important and a gift from God, even though it can feel weird inside. I've had kids thank me. I've had kids say, Dr. Kathy, I love my family, but there are times when I just have to be alone. And I can't explain to my mom why, and then she gets upset, so thank you for helping me understand. And now I've just empowered that kid to go home and say, Mommy, I need some self-smart time. Let me be alone a few minutes, and then I'll come talk to you. So you guys, I pray this is a blessing to you as you understand that you have all of these combinations in your classes every day, and you can teach them effectively according to how they're smart so that they can be who God intended for them to be when he chose in his love to make them them. And that's the identity shift, and that matters. God bless you as you discover more about yourself and more about the kids you have this year. Thanks for listening.